Every time anyone involved with Rings of Power opens their mouth, they continue to make this show sound worse and worse, which is honestly a pretty impressive feat, seeing as it already looks like a complete train wreck. But before we get into what Ismael Cordova has to say here, who's playing the Dark Elf for Rings of Power, and let me tell you, his comments here are absolutely insane, and show that they have no intention at all in honoring Tolkien through what they're doing with Rings of Power. Let's get into what Jeff Bezos has to say here. So Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos says producing the Rings of Power isn't just about making money. He then went on and said Jeff Bezos wants Amazon's new Lord of the Rings series to do more than just make boatloads of money. I hope we do Tolkien's work justice. Justice. Social justice, everyone. He doesn't mean anything about actually doing things that are honoring to Tolkien or anything else, or interpreting the vision that Tolkien had for Middle-earth. He has no interest in that, and neither does anyone working at Amazon. What they want to do is completely warp and change and disfigure the works of Tolkien in order to fit the new image that they want for the world, and that is exactly what we continue to hear coming from the mouths of the people that are involved with Rings of Power. I feel like we had to reinterpret and reimagine Lord of the Rings and everything else, and those are the types of comments that we hear all the time coming from people that are involved. But Jeff Bezos is also completely correct about this, that Rings of Power isn't just about making money, because what Hollywood is doing with their agenda isn't about just making money. He's actually spot on about this. Okay, they aren't interested in the money ultimately. Yes, the money is a big factor in a lot of what they do, but ultimately what they're most interested in is pushing communist agendas and changing the world fundamentally from what we know as stable society and everything else into a new version of reality, which is their warped utopia. And honestly, it sounds a lot like what people involved in Lord of the Rings wanted to do, like Sauron and everything else. That is exactly the type of stuff that they wanted for Middle-earth. But let's get into what Ismael Cordova has to say here in this absolutely insane interview. So this is something that Benjamin Walker and Ismael Cordova had to say. So let's see what they have to say here.
We took a reinvestment in the source material. And well, that means that
we took a reinvestment in the source material.
We went to his writing and allowed that to inspire whole new avenues for the show.
We went to his writing and allowed that to inspire whole new avenues for this show. Basically what he's saying here, yeah, we kind of like read Tolkien stuff, but we didn't really give a shit about it. We wanted to do our own thing.
That it allowed us for some artistic freedom to dream up some other aspects of Middle-earth that haven't been seen before. Numenor, for example. You know, it's deeply rooted in the text and nobody's ever seen it before.
Literally everything that he said right there basically could be summed up as, yeah, we kind of, took some glances at what he wrote, and we were just kind of like, yeah, F that, we're going to do our own thing. That's basically what he said there in that entire thing.
There will no longer be a time.
Okay, now what he says here is ridiculous.
There will longer be a time. There will no longer be a time where you can say there are no elves of color. So we erased that one, This conversation will never be there.
So there you go. That is what is most important to Ismael Cordova, is that there are elves of color.
Elf. The next person that comes after me won't have to talk about this. So that's what it means to me. I always say, if you can see it, you can imagine it, and if you can imagine, you can create it.
These people have no intention of honoring the works of Tolkien. That is so evident, so clear in what they're saying here. It is insane, everyone. Now, look, I don't ultimately have a problem with elves that are black, okay? If this was an original show that was coming from Amazon that wasn't tied to Middle-earth or Tolkien, I wouldn't give a flying F if the elves were black or not. That is not what matters to me, but the thing that matters to me is honoring and being faithful to the works of Tolkien and what they continue to show time and time again, that they have no interest in that. The fact that there are black elves isn't ultimately ultimately a problem. It's more of like that is a sign of a bunch of problems, and what their approach was to making this show. That they were like, we're just gonna do our own thing. And that is a complete disgrace, and this comment right here is exactly how we should all be approaching this. Anyone who thinks Tolkien needs to be reinvigorated needs a nice spa day inside Mount Doom. Absolutely correct about that. But let me just remind you that Jeff Bezos hopes that they do Tolkien's work justice. You completely failed at that already. So with that being said, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe. I'd appreciate that a lot, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.